Everybody, Fox News alert, because there is yet another spying bombshell from the government. The NSA is not only collecting your phone call data, but it's following every move you make on the internet. Every click. Good morning, everybody. You thought Google was good. Imagine what your government could do. I'm Bill Hemmer, and welcome you to a Friday edition of America's Newsroom. What's happening?
Good morning
to you.
Bill. Good morning, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum. So leaked documents show that the National Security Agency, known as the NSA, is apparently hooked right into the servers of your favorite websites. Take a look at this. We're talking about Facebook, YouTube, Google, Yahoo, AOL, Microsoft, Apple, Paltalk. Fox News can now confirm that the program started back in 2007, tracking data and emails, video, pictures, web searches, all of that.
Yeah, and the Director of National Intelligence calls the leak reprehensible, saying it could cause harm to our nation's intelligence gathering. Our chief White House correspondent, Ed Henry, is on the West Coast traveling with the president, San Jose, California, where the president wakes up there this morning. Is this a story the administration welcomes, given the series of other scandals that have been so public, Ed?
Well, the problem for them right now, Bill, is that this piles on a series of other government overreaches from the James Rosen case, other media leak investigations, the IRS scandal, abuse of power there. So this piles on and pulls the president away from his message this morning in San Jose about his health care reform law. But on the other hand, as you note, it can help the administration say, wait a second, this was started under the Bush administration. This is not essentially their program. They're continuing what the Republicans did. But wait a second, Republican James Sensenbrenner says he was one of the architects of the Patriot Act, and he says the intent of the law was to target specifically terrorists, not to have this wide sweep on the internet and phone records that could go after average Americans. Here's Congressman Sensenbrenner.
I would see nothing wrong with targeting the phone records of somebody who is suspected of terrorism. But everybody who either sent or received a call from a Verizon phone and maybe the other cell phone providers, that was never the intent of the business record section.
Now, Sensenbrenner also notes that some of these key provisions of the Patriot Act will be expiring soon, so this whole fiery debate right now that's going on around the country, according to Sensenbrenner, might lead to them making some reforms to the Patriot Act that maybe reins in the president's power.
This story wasn't even out there a few hours in Politico, the political website out of Washington. Already had a story on its website saying the White House welcomes this debate on privacy. Now what's the defense over this story, Ed?
Well, how they're trying to defend it is, number one, they say that they went to the so-called FISA court to get specific permission to move forward on some of this. So there's some oversight there, according to the administration. Number two, they say the key lawmakers on Capitol Hill are read in on this program. So again, they're claiming there's oversight here. And then finally, as we talked at the top, they're pointing out that this was something that started under the Bush administration. So they're sort of surprised inside the White House that there's shock that this is going on. Listen to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid.
Right now, I think everyone should just calm down and understand this isn't anything that is brand new. It's been going on for some 7 years, and we've tried often to try to make it better, and we'll continue to do that.
True, the program started 7 years ago, but remember around that time, leading up to the 2008 presidential campaign, then Senator Barack Obama was really hitting the Bush administration hard on executive power and saying a lot of this needed to be reined in. A second point I'll make is that after this event here in San Jose, the president's going to Palm Springs to meet with the Chinese president. At the top of the agenda there was supposed to be pressuring China over some of its cyber attacks. Now, all of a sudden, the backdrop of these meetings with the Chinese president will be the U.S.'s own surveillance programs, Bill.
Ed, thank you. Ed Henry in San Jose. Ed mentioned this, Wisconsin Congressman James Sensenbrenner. We'll talk to him live in a moment. Here tells us why he thinks this is a, quote, really big deal, and more on why he says this is never what the Patriot Act intended. Talk to him live in our Washington Bureau coming up in a couple minutes right here, Martha.
All right, this is interesting in light of all this. Attorney General Eric Holder answering questions under oath at a previously scheduled hearing. Mark Kirk asking the AG who else the government is listening to.
When government bureaucrats are sloppy, they're usually really sloppy. I want to just ask, could you assure to us that no phones inside the Capitol were monitored of members of Congress that would give a future executive branch, if they started pulling this kind of thing off, would give them unique leverage over the legislature?
With all due respect, Senator, I don't think this is an appropriate setting for me to discuss that issue. I'd be more than glad to come back in an appropriate setting to discuss the issues that you have raised, but in this open forum, I
would interrupt you and say the correct answer would be say no. We stayed within our lane, and I'm assuring you, we did not spy on members of Congress.
In the prosecutorial.
Interesting in light of all this, right? Mr. Holder went on to say that there is, quote, no intention to do anything of that nature to Congress or members of the Supreme Court.
We have heard from 3 of the internet companies involved in this surveillance program. They're reacting now, saying the privacy of their users is their top priority. Microsoft, Facebook, Google, claiming they complied with orders for specific requests about specific accounts on individuals. Google specifically saying, quote, we do not have a backdoor policy for government access to private data, end quote.
Well, all of this brings attention to the NSA's Desert Spy Center, which we have looked at very closely at Fox, a brand new heavily secured intel facility. It's near Salt Lake. Look at the size of that place. Many believe that this is where the agency is storing all of this data, literally billions of surveillance records that may be gathered from the companies that we've been talking about here this morning. The Utah Data Center can reportedly hold up to 5 zettabytes. Do you know what those are? Of data. It's a lot. Catherine Herridge breaks down exactly what we're talking about.
One iPhone 5 has 16 gigabytes of storage. 1 terabyte would be about 62 iPhones. Stacked, that would be 19 inches high. 1 petabyte would be more than 62,000 iPhones, which would reach higher than the Empire State Building. An exabyte would be more than 62 million iPhones, reaching higher than the International Space Station. And just 1 zettabyte would be more than 62 billion iPhones. Stacked, they would reach past the moon. If it really has 5 zettabytes, the data center could in theory store every email, cell phone call, Google search, and surveillance camera video in America for a very long time.
Wow. Catherine's going to have much more on that on a special report tonight when she joins Bret Baier.